Oh, this is video. That's a da 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 with the music.
Hey, what's up guys? I hope you're doing well. I'm doing awesome. Welcome to a Peachy vlog. This is going to be all about my recent trip to ArenaNet Studios in Bellevue, Washington. They invited a bunch of members of the press, YouTubers, streamers, shoutcasters, reporters, writers. There was maybe like 30 to 40 of us that they flew out for this press event, and it was actually we were the very first members of the public to get our hands and actually play Heart of Thorns. We actually played the demo that's going to be played at Rezzed and PAX East in just about a week or two, and that was the main reason for going out there. But it was probably not the most exciting thing for me and for a lot of us, I think. So I'm going to try and put my thoughts in some kind of a coherent chronological story here. I don't know how well it's going to work because there was so much awesome that happened. And I'm also going to try and not use the word awesome and amazing too much, but I know I'm going to fail. Monday morning I got on the plane and flew out. I live in Ohio, so the plane ride to Seattle was quite long and taxing, but once I got there I was completely energized. I got there Monday evening and we all met in the lobby of the hotel. I got to meet a lot of people for the very first time, such as Matt Visual, and I keep wanting to say people that I met at PAX South, which of course were also there. I got to see Richie again, and Mazda, one of my guildies. Angry Joe was there, and I had met him very briefly at PAX South, so I got to see him again, and we actually hung out at the dinner Tuesday night. And then so many people. I got to meet Doc. I'm gonna really just forget all these names. I'm gonna forget so many people, and I apologize right off the bat. I got to see Rihanna again and actually like hang out with her. I had like briefly met her and I wasn't quite sure who she was, but then in the meantime, I watch her streams and stuff, so I got to hang out with her. Donna Barry I got to meet, who is amazing. The three of us just clicked. It was amazing. You girls are awesome. Lots of other people that I can't even remember. Anyway, so we all met in the lobby of the hotel, and then ArenaNet is like literally the next block over. Like, it's not even a 5-minute walk to ArenaNet from this hotel. So we met with Ruby in the lobby, and then we walked over to ArenaNet. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. It was like a dream come true. Unfortunately, it was dark outside, and the ArenaNet logo on the building was not lit up, and it was so funny because Ruby's like, the one time that logo is not lit up, and it's always lit up at night, and the one time it goes out is the time that you guys are here. But you could still see it. So we walked over, and you kind of like walk through like this parking garage, and then you go over to the elevators, and you go up to the top 2 floors, which is the studios. So we went up there, and as soon as the elevator doors open, you can see this giant ArenaNet logo. There's a little lobby there with some chairs, and there's video screens that are playing kind of this collage of concept art and trailers for the game, and it's just kind of really like, you're like, I'm here, this is it. And there's a big reception desk there, and then off on the left there is a like a conference room, like a meeting room, and that is where we were kind of like, that was the press's home base, was that little conference room. But this Monday night was all about meeting everyone for the first time. It was kind of a meet and greet type thing, and eating. So they had it catered. We went over there and got dinner. So there is like, you go inside and there's like common areas. And so there's one common area, and then there's stairs that go down to another common area, which includes the kitchen, which was where the food was. So we kind of like, we came in, we went downstairs, and we got our food, and we got to see the fabled and amazing candy and snack and cereal dispensers, which are everything that everyone has imagined and dreamed that they are. They are awesome. So we got food, and I got to meet a lot of the devs that I had seen at PAX South, like Colin and Michael Bryan, Ruby, Regina, Stefan, Liz. I know I'm going to forget people, so I apologize in advance. Milad. So I got to see all of them again. I got to meet new people. So we just kind of hung out. I got to meet the other members of the press. There was a lot of people that honestly I didn't know who they were. I had never seen their stuff before. And a lot of them were like writers, so like even if I've read their work, I hadn't seen their faces. So I'm like, I don't know, there's a lot of people here that I don't know who they are. And I get shy around people I don't know. So I kind of tried to mingle the best I could, and it was fun. So I got to sit and talk with Colin again, and also sitting and listening to Colin and Rhea talk while me and Donna just kind of sat by. This is the greatest thing. Rhea is like all world versus world. Donna is like all PvP, and I'm all PvE. And so between the three of us, it's kind of hard to talk to each other about Guild Wars 2, even though we're all totally into it because we play different game modes. And it was so funny sitting there with Donna listening to Rhea talk with Colin because they were totally geeking out over World vs. World. And we would pick up on a phrase, like she would be talking about World vs. World Season 2. And I told Donna, I said, well, when I hear Season 2, I think Living World Season 2. When she hears Season 2, she thinks World vs. World. And Donna's like, I don't know what Season 2 means. I don't know. So that's just one of many funny and awesome stories. Anyway, how to not make this too rambly, I don't know. And I know there's some people who like want to hear every single detail, telling me every single juicy detail, and then there's people who are like, alright, just tell me the basics and get it over with. So, oh my gosh, but it's like I just want to remember all these memories forever. So after, we stayed there for a couple hours and just talked and had fun. And so then afterwards, we went back to the hotel. It was maybe like 10 o'clock or so. We all walked back over to the hotel. They had to close up the studio. There was a bar in the hotel and everyone said, let's go meet in the bar and just hang out. Well, we went over to the bar and the doors were closed and it said the bar had closed at 10 o'clock. So we were like, oh man. And we were looking for another lobby or somewhere to hang out. And there's like no like restaurants or anything like that in the immediate area, like none whatsoever. In walking distance, there's nothing. Eventually, we were like wandering around for a while saying, well, we need to hang out. I kept saying, it's 10 o'clock. We can't just all go to bed right now. We have like extremely limited time to hang out and get to know each other. So let's find somewhere to hang out. Well, eventually, I was actually hanging out with Matt, and we were trying to figure out where to go, what to do, and then we randomly found a hotel employee who told us that we could actually go into the bar area even though it was closed. So that's what we did. We went and kind of had the whole lounge area all to ourselves, and we went in there. We were texting and Twitter messaging everybody that we could think of that we knew their number or name, and we said, come on down here and hang out. And eventually we got about 10 of us or so down there hanging out, and we all hung out for a couple hours, which was really fun. Rhea and I swiped a bunch of candy from the candy dispensers before we left ArenaNet, so we all kind of got hopped up on sugar and just sat and talked. I got to talk to Doc for a while. Doc Got Game on Twitch. And he was telling me about all the amazing things that he's learned doing Twitch and trying to do it for a living, and streaming every single day, making it his full-time job, and it was really, really cool. Big shout out to Doc for being so nice. This sounds just like PAX South, but everybody was just so nice, I can't believe it. Just wonderful, wonderful people. This community is awesome. So at some point that evening, Blue also arrived, so I got to meet him. So he was there, and Richie and Matt and Rhea and Donna. So that was Monday night. I'm rambling way too much, I apologize. So then we all went to bed. Woke up the next day. I didn't have the hotel for the next night because I left late Tuesday night to go home. So I had to pack up all my stuff. I got ready. A bunch of us met up and had a big, awesome breakfast together, and that made me feel a lot better because my stomach was actually like upset all night long because I had eaten too much candy and I'm getting too old for that shit. So I packed up all my stuff in my suitcase and left it with the hotel. And then we went over to ArenaNet offices for the big day, and oh my gosh, what a day it was. Being there during the day when all of the devs are there, everybody is there working, doing their thing. It's bright. It's the layout of the whole office is very open. It's a very open feel. There's not like little cubicles that people work in. So we got there, of course, the obligatory photos with the ArenaNet logo, because you have to when you go there. This giant, beautiful lit up logo. You have to take all the pictures in front of it. So there was a bunch of picture taking in front of it with friends, and we got to chat with a couple devs that were just walking by. Mostly the community managers, Stefan and Ruby, Gail. I met Gail Gray. So cool, so cool. So we all met in the big conference room. There were some computers in the back that had the Heart of Thorns demo on it ready to go, but we could not touch those yet. We had to sit and, or I should say, we got the pleasure of sitting and listening to a small presentation from Mike O'Brien and Colin Johansson.
I know you're here to play the game and you're very excited to play the game, so we're going to all keep this brief. I just want to do a little setup before we get started here. Yeah! Yeah!
They gave us a little introduction. They gave us a really quick overview for people who don't constantly play Guild Wars 2, like they've done a Guild Wars 2 review in the past, or played it, but they hop from game to game. They have to because they have millions of subscribers, and I'm mostly talking about like Angry Joe, Jesse Cox, Tobuscus was there, these bigger YouTubers. So they gave us like a little introduction to the event, a welcome. Once they were done, they said, okay, let's do it. Let's play Heart of Thorns. They told us that we were going to get multiple play sessions for those of us who wanted to record footage. They said that the very first playthrough that we did, they wanted us to not worry about recording, not worry about anything like that. They just wanted us to just play naturally and experience it. I kind of regret that I didn't put a camera on myself, at least for that, because that was, that's what I do, is reaction videos. So that was like my very first impressions of it. And unfortunately, I didn't record that because they had requested that we simply play naturally, and so I respected that, and I didn't record myself. So we played the demo, and it was really fun. We got about probably like 45 minutes to an hour of the PvE experience, and then we did maybe another like 45 minutes or so of PvP, Stronghold. Both of them were awesome and really, really fun to play. And it was really good to be among the first people ever to play Heart of Thorns, and that was really cool. So once we were done with the play session, we went back into the meeting room, and we were kind of preparing for the rest of the day. They kind of asked us, okay, who has to record footage, who doesn't. Basically, the people who had to record footage, we went and had another play session in a different room, and then everybody who didn't went and got lunch. So I went in and I set up my camera and set up fraps and recorded footage and recorded myself playing through the PvE experience again. I also recorded myself playing through the PvP again. Even though, I'm like 95% PvE, if not more. But I had a lot of fun with Stronghold. I really did. It was really cool. So I was actually really happy to play it again. And we had an awesome couple PvP matches against, it was me and Richie and Blue, Doc, and someone else. I apologize, I don't know your name. Against Angry Joe, Jesse Cox, Rihanna, and two other people that I'm not sure your names, I'm sorry. But we had an awesome couple PvP matches against each other in this room with like just these 10 computers, 5 and 5 facing each other, so it felt like this like really serious PvP match, and it was actually really fun. And this is coming from a PvEer. Like PvP in the game currently, like I do not find it fun at all. But this was a blast, so that was really, really fun. We played a couple matches, and then we constantly had to be ready for whenever the devs were ready for interviews, because that was another thing that we were there for. We didn't really get much of a heads up on who we were going to interview, so I had a bunch of questions from my viewers. You guys submitted some questions, and so I kind of had them all printed out, and like right before the interviews, it's like as soon as we found out who we were going to interview, which me and Richie both went together, and so we interviewed Colin Johansson, and then we got to interview Elizabeth and Ruby together. So those were our 2 interview sessions. So I kind of had to prepare like right before. I kind of had to I circled the questions that I was going to ask and kind of did a priority because we weren't going to have a ton of time. Like Colin, we only had like 10 minutes apiece because of course Colin was super busy and he had a ton of interviews that day. Backing up just a little bit, after my recording sessions from Heart of Thorns, I went back into the meeting room. They had a nice lunch for us. We had some sandwiches and some cookies and some chips. And so I was sitting eating lunch, and I had earlier that day I had tweeted Life Chappelle and Teddy and told them that I was there because they were the 2 that I would have, if I didn't get a chance to meet them, I would have regretted it. So I made sure to tell them, I'm gonna be here, you better come find me, you know the studio, I don't. So I'm like, I can't, I'm in this meeting room by the lobby. But luckily, Life had actually been called to do some PvE because Angry Joe was having trouble getting his capture card set up, I think, and so they needed other people to run around with him in the PvE zone to play with him so he could capture some footage. And so they kind of did an open call and said, okay, who wants to go play Heart of Thorns for half an hour? And Life was one of them. And I actually, I was sitting in that little meeting room, and I looked up just as he was walking by, and then like the super dorkiest thing ever, I got all excited. I got up and I was tripping over chairs to try and get to the door because I was like, oh my god, I wanted to meet no one more than Life. So I saw him, and so I was being a dork and tripping over chairs, and went up and met him and hugged him, and of course we knew who each other were, and that was probably one of the highlights of my trip. So I went to finish lunch and he went off to play the game. And I'm sitting there eating my lunch, and I'm like, oh my god, my heart was pounding and I was all excited. After 5 minutes, I'm like, wait a minute, they said we can take food into the computer lab. So I grab all my stuff and run into the lab, and I'm like, what am I doing sitting here when he's in the next room playing Heart of Thorns? I could be sitting there chatting with him while I'm eating. So I grab all my stuff, I go over there, and I sit down at the computer next to him, watching him play Heart of Thorns. And Richie was on the other side of him playing Heart of Thorns, and he was still capturing footage. So while I'm sitting there, Teddy finds me. Teddy comes into the lab, and so I got to meet her. We took pictures together, and it was just happy and wonderful. It's really strange. So many of the devs and the people who work there are fans of us, as much as we're fans of them. And it was really, it's really strange to me because, I'm not used to that. I told Colin, I said, we're fans of you guys as much as you are of us. My reason for going there, I was more excited to see the studio and meet the developers and these people who I greatly admire. I was more excited to see them and meet them than I was to play Heart of Thorns. I could play Heart of Thorns at home, but this is my one opportunity to see the studio and meet everybody. So to get to meet them and then have them say, oh, we're a fan of you, we watch your videos, was... So anyway, so we had some time before our interviews. Between the interviews and the play session, we could have just sat there and kept playing, but we kind of got to wander the hallways, not quite wander the common area. We weren't allowed to go down any of the hallways. So I know Richie and I kind of wandered around. We were waiting for our interview times, and we were just kind of wandering around the halls near the kitchen area and just kind of watching devs go by, and once in a while one would stop, one would recognize us and stop and introduce themselves and say hi, or we would stop someone, and so many people that I got to meet just by hanging around in the common area and waiting for people to walk by, like Peter Freeze, Josh Foreman, Matt Medina, Mike Z, who was super nice and super awesome. He actually gave us a little mini tour of the office. There was a lot of places we couldn't go because there's like Heart of Thorn stuff everywhere, and we, you know, couldn't see any spoilers or anything, and we didn't. Like he took us, like he would like go down, he's like, I think I can take you down here, but hold on a minute. And like he'd go down and like make sure, he's like, would tell everyone, okay, put away anything that could be a spoiler, you know. And there was some, like, we would walk by a wall and he'd say, don't look at this wall, and don't look at the whiteboard or anything that's written on it. So like we got to like go down some hallways and like peek around some corners, peek into one of the programming rooms. And like I said, it's this like just, you know, a bunch of desks in a row and like big an open area, really beautiful office. And it was amazing how many people knew about the construction of the building itself, and like the construction of the floors and how the office and the studio was designed. So yeah, big shout out to Mike Z for being awesome, and giving us that little mini tour, you know, as much as you could. That was really cool, and just being genuinely interested in what we thought and what we think of the game. He was asking us our favorite maps. I completely failed to like pick one, except I was like, oh, Silver Waste is cool. Like I was so like, oh my god, they're talking to me. Like I was so like nervous and like you know, didn't know what to say, and like, you know, all at those critical moments, of course, your entire knowledge of the game just goes out your brain. But he was super nice. Bobby Stein was another one that I got to talk to. That was probably the single coolest part of the trip, was being able to getting that free time to just like be in the common areas and watch people walk by and have people like stop and, you know, you say, oh, I recognize you, and I recognize you, and I know who you are, and like I recognize you, but I don't know your name or what you do, and like that part was a little awkward. But yeah, and there was, in the common area, there was also a table. If you want something signed, you lay it on that table. So I had actually, this time I had forgot at PAX South, but I had brought, I have two actually, but one of my 2 game boxes I had brought, and once I was just kind of carrying it around, and like I was like, oh, Colin was actually the very first one to sign it, and so I said, oh, Colin, sign my game box before I forget. I'm like, I need to get this thing out and remember to have people sign it, and then they're like, well, why don't you just put it on this table and then people will sign it? So I was like, that's an awesome idea. So I put it on the table, and by the end of the day, it was full of signatures. So that was pretty awesome. That was really cool. I saw Teddy again, and Teddy randomly walked by, and I got another picture with her, and then she said, hold on a moment. And she ran off, and I was like, what? She's like, I have something for you. And she came back, actually, with this t-shirt. And she gave me this t-shirt, and we actually, by the end of the day, ended up getting the same t-shirt, just as like some Heart of Thorns swag that they gave out, including the box that you've seen, the box. But yeah, I'll talk about these in a minute. But yeah, so she came back and gave me this shirt. That was so nice. Thank you so much, Teddy. That was, oh, that was, I was so happy. I was so happy. I completely forgot to mention that there was concept art on all the walls, and it was so cool. It was like this art gallery of Guild Wars 2 concept art, and there was ones that were framed, there was like printed canvases, there were murals painted right onto the walls, there was like giant posters and scrolls, like every medium that this art could have been printed or drawn or painted on, it was at some location in the studio. My favorite was the giant Zozia that was like, if you're standing in the kitchen area, right over on the wall, you can see this giant Zozia. And it was just, oh, just seeing it like just so giant, seeing this art so in your face was so cool. There was concept art that I didn't even recognize. Like, I don't think I'd ever seen the female centaur before. Just really cool stuff that's from Heart of Thorns. I mean, every moment of being there was just overwhelming for my senses completely. I tried my best to take in as much as I could. Anyway, though, So after we were done being bums and standing around in the hallway, we got interviews with Colin, and then later on we got to interview Liz and Ruby, and we actually got to use, there was a professional camera crew there the entire time. Both Monday night and Tuesday, and they were getting tons of footage, and they were set up in the green screen room that they actually used to film Points of Interest and Ready Up. And they were set up to do these interviews, and they had the big scrolls of like Heart of Thorns and then the World Tournament Series. So we actually got to use the equipment, not actually use the equipment, but the camera crew filmed that interview for each of us. So our interview with Ruby and Liz got filmed all professionally, so our interview with Colin is going to look like crap in comparison, but that was really fun because there was the three of us there. We really like had a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, and really got to like play off each other and tell stories and stuff, and that interview got to be a little bit longer than the one with Colin, which was a little rushed, but like I said, that was kind of expected because, you know, Colin had a very tight schedule. But it's amazing that even people that had very tight schedules and had to, you know, be here, be there, they never at any time made you feel like, you know, you weren't important, or, you know, oh, I've got somewhere to be, so I'll be back, or anything. Like, you never at any point got that vibe at all. Like, every single time you talk to pretty much any of them, especially Colin, every single time I've talked to Colin, even if he's busy or he's, you know, got somewhere to be, he makes you feel like the most important person in the room when he's talking to you. It's quite amazing. and huge shout out to and props to Colin for that, because it's really cool. Like, and especially because I know there's a lot of us, even though we're YouTubers or shoutcasters or streamers and kind of like this is what we do, a lot of us are still kind of shy and a little bit, you know, socially awkward, if you will. I know I am, and yet, despite that, it's so easy to talk to everyone there, especially, like I said, especially Colin. He always makes you feel like the most important person in the room when he's talking to you, and so big thank you to him for that, because it really makes you feel special and it makes you belong, and yeah. So, moving on, after the interviews, we didn't get too much more time. We kind of had to, you know, gather all of our stuff and make sure we went in, got our swag, which, like I said, was a t-shirt. It's like the Ritlock shirt, except it's gray, and then on the back it says Heart of Thorns. It's kind of hard to see, but, so it's a little bit different than the Ritlock shirt or the Heart of Thorns shirt. It's kind of like a 2-in-1. But then we also got these boxes, which, as you see, by the way, guys, there's nothing in the box. There's nothing in the box. Everyone's going, what's in the box? You've showed us the box, but what's in it? We're going to show you what's in the box because there's nothing. It smells really good, though. It smells like a hardware store. So it is engraved. Hopefully my camera focuses. It's like burnt or engraved, like the Guild Wars 2 Heart of Thorns logo into the box, which is really friggin' cool. And it's just a box. I mean, but why not? Why not? It's a box. It's cool. I finally have, like, maybe I can replace my snowball down there with this, and then it can kind of, like, my shelf can be complete. The only problem with the box is that it was kind of hard to travel with. It was, like, really awkward because I just had my carry-on, but who cares? It's cool, and I love it. So, and then, like I said, we got the shirt, and we also got this little USB drive that has the Heart of Thorns logo on one side and ArenaNet on the other side, which makes me just as excited as the Guild Wars 2 logo. And you, like, twist it, and the little USB comes out. I'll be 100% honest, I haven't even plugged this in yet, but apparently it has, apparently it has Heart of Thorns. It has Heart of Thorns, like, screenshots and videos and, like, press stuff on it. So, so thank you for that, which I just dropped on the floor. So after we had to unfortunately leave the studio, we went over to the Purple Bar, I think it was called. It was this really like fancy restaurant, and a lot of us felt really strange walking in with like, some of us had like our suitcases, and like we had our little Guild Wars 2 boxes, and we're just like carrying all our swag and all our stuff, and we have our backpacks on. And then we walk into this like really fancy, swanky restaurant, and we're all kind of like, we feel like real nerds like coming in here with all this stuff, but it was awesome. It was a really, really nice restaurant. We got this private room with like this gigantic table, and there was maybe like 30 of us like around this giant table, just the best food. Oh, the food was awesome. Everything they served everything family style, and we all just got to sit and eat and be merry and kind of enjoy each other's company before we had to go, because a lot of us had to leave that night. So at the dinner, and as I've learned at these events, who you sit next to at dinner is quite important for getting to know someone, because I sat down next to Angry Joe. I had Matsuda on one side, my guildie, and then I had Angry Joe on the other side, and on the other side of him was Donnaberry. And so the three of us just talked and laughed and had fun and fantastic conversation and fantastic food for a couple hours there, and that was really awesome because, like I said, at PAX South I had very briefly met Angry Joe in the hallway, and he was super nice and awesome, and we got pictures together, and it was really, really cool. But now I actually got to like sit down and talk to him and like actually properly introduce myself, and it was just really cool, and the three of us just kind of clicked, and they're so nice, both of them, and it was just really awesome. And I kind of got to look across the table from me. Then was Richie and Matt and Doc. So I kind of got like, hey guys, because it was like across the table. It was like way over across the table. It was like, hey guys, how's it going? It was really cool, and the food was really yummy. So a couple hours into the dinner, unfortunately, there was kind of the first wave of people had to leave, including myself. Unfortunately, I left that night. My flight was at 11, so somewhere around like 8:30 or so, I had to leave. I went back to the hotel and got my stuff, got my suitcase, and went to the airport, you know. And so saying goodbyes right before you leave is always very sad. So before we left the restaurant, you know, I got to say goodbye to everybody, and they kind of had the cars waiting, and they had to figure out who was going where. So, you know, some of the goodbyes were kind of rushed, which makes me very sad. But I have no doubt that we will all meet again, so that makes me happy. So I went to the airport, and I found out that I was on the same flight as Blue, actually right as we got to the airport. Me and Blue got out, and we said, oh, when's your flight? And, oh, it's at 11. Mine too. And it's like, so we were on the same flight. We didn't sit next to each other because the flight was like jam-packed full. But we got to hang out, you know, and find our way together in the airport. So that was nice, because I had barely said one word to Blue the entire weekend because there was just so many people. It was like, oh my gosh, it was hard to find time to talk to everybody. But so that was nice that, you know, I got to spend a little bit of time with someone that I hadn't otherwise got to spend time with. So that was cool. I actually found out later that Chris Carter was also on the same flight, but we didn't find that out until we actually got to our connecting flight in Detroit, where we all parted ways. So that was cool. So big thanks to Blue for being my travel buddy. And that was it. I got home and I had extreme jet lag for about 3 days. I'm still feeling it a little bit, but it was amazing. I hope I didn't miss anybody. I kind of have my list here of people that I'd made right before I started filming, just off the top of my head. Yes, Shin was there. I got to meet Shin. Josh Davis and Hugh Norfolk, of course, I got to meet them. Everybody else, I think I've mentioned, and I know I'm missing some, so I apologize if I missed you. It was a whirlwind. I mean, I was there for just a little bit over 24 hours, yet all of this stuff happened. I got I've been recording for 45 minutes. I don't know how much of this I'm gonna cut out. But it was incredible. It was magical. It was magical. I don't know how else to describe it, but that's those are my memories, and big huge shout out to everybody who was there and everybody who I met who was just so nice. And big shout out to everybody at home who was following my adventures on Twitter. I tried to tweet as much as I could. Unfortunately, my phone camera is not very good. I also have I have this little Canon pink camera that I take a lot of my better pictures on, but unfortunately because they're on my camera, I have to kind of wait until I get home to post them. So I tried to do the best I could with just my phone camera, which is not so great, but all of the photos, you can see all the photos that I took both on my phone and my camera on my Facebook page. There's a big album. I posted a bunch of the better ones on Twitter as well, but if you want to see like pictures of the studio and kind of like other little behind the scenes stuff, like that's all over on Facebook. So on Tuesday, we actually get to release everything about the game itself, about Heart of Thorns, all the footage that we captured and the experiences that we had in game with the demo. That will be on Tuesday, March 3rd, is when we can release that stuff. So come on back here and look at the stuff that I'm not 100% sure what videos I'm going to make out of those, out of all that stuff. I'm going to kind of have to organize all the footage that I got. So that was my trip in a blurry nutshell. Not so much a nutshell, in much detail. Thanks for listening to my adventures, my recount of my adventures. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them below, except not about the game because I can't talk about that. But anything about my trip or anything, yeah, feel free to ask. I will put a link in the description to the Facebook album that you can see all of the photos from my trip. And a big, huge shout out to every single person that I met. I love you all. I really do. It was one of the best experiences of my life. Thank you. Big thank you to ArenaNet for giving me this opportunity. I know I'm not as big as some of the other channels or streamers, but to still give me this opportunity, you really just, like, you've made my year once again, and it's an experience I'll never forget, so thank you. Thank you for that. Alright guys, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna let you go. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you next time. Mwah. Bye bye.